There's nothing grander than the sun and the moon, and they're fundamental to our life on Earth. From the coral seas to the teeming rainforests, moonlight and sunlight measure our days. They summon the annual round of the seasons, a primal force of growth and movement. Aggressive movement. Some animal behavior is directly influenced by the sun. But there are other creatures, hidden away, eyeless and blind, who never catch a glimpse of it. Let's start on that very unusual planet, which is perfectly placed in our solar system.
We're so busy with our daily routines that we tend to forget our links with the cosmos. But the celestial rhythms reflect our real origins, where everything runs by the timing of the sun and the moon. Our world is spinning through space. It's turning, generating day and night. But how did it all start? Near the beginning of time, our solar system was a cloud of hot, swirling stardust. As it cooled and slowed down, it created the sun and the planets. And these denser bodies kept the spinning motion of the cloud that created them. 500 million years later, there was still no life on this angry planet. Early Earth was an inferno. Molten rock spewed from the interior. There was no moon to illuminate the night. And how our planet acquired such a large satellite is a mystery. It may be that asteroids and dust that circled round the early Earth collected together to form the moon. Compared to the planet it orbits, our moon is the biggest in the solar system, and it creates huge tides which have a profound effect. The sun's distance and dimensions are critical, and we're living on a very lucky planet. Our sun is an ordinary star, but it's just the right distance away from Earth, not too hot and not too cold. All the early life forms soon learnt to follow the sun's daily round. Every living thing has within it a sun-based clock. From the earliest times, day and night ruled many sea creatures. Within the nucleus of cells is a chemical switch that turns vital activities on and off. During the day, these green algae absorb sun energy near the surface, then reproduce at night in darker waters. And animals exploit these vital energy producers. Within the bodies of these Indonesian jellyfish are brown algae, which supply food to the jellyfish, mainly sugars. To make them, the algae need light, and so the jellyfish swim to the surface and track the sun all day. Even reef fish have a daily commute. Day shift fish go to deeper waters as the Earth's spin transports their world into the dark. At night, a whole new set of animals occupy the reefs, while the daytime creatures sleep in suitable crevices. Nighttime fish are often black and white, like manta rays sieving the plankton from the wine-dark seas. The moon is a more subtle timer than the sun. As it travels around the planet, it pulls up the sea in a 12-hour tidal cycle. On the shoreline, beach-wise animals get to know its schedule. Fiddler crabs show they understand the workings of these extraterrestrial forces. An hour or so before the tide reaches them, they seal their burrows with a lid. Wading birds also have to beat the incoming tide. The best time to see them is when there's only a bit of beach left and they're all bunched together near the shore. Each lunar month, the moon completes an orbit of the Earth, the same face turned towards us. As the moon passes between the Earth and the sun, the face we see is in shadow. 2 weeks later, sun, Earth and moon, in that order, are in line. And now the moon's face is bathed in sunshine. At both times, the sun's gravity joins with the moon's, making the strongest tides, or spring tides. These monthly cycles of the moon are often the trigger to breed. With the full moon, marine animals, from baitfish to corals, synchronize the release of spawn so that male and female can fertilize. It's a time of moon-inspired productivity. A chunk of rock orbiting nearly 400,000 kilometers away in space, queuing a banquet for the largest fish in the world, the whale shark. But what would happen if there were no moon? When marine animals first crawled onto the land, the tidal waters helped them on their way. A moonless Earth would have no tides. Land animals would probably not have evolved, which means none of us would exist. But it's sunlight, not moonlight, that creates the world's rainforests.
Here, its bright energy is converted into an amazing amount of green material. Greedy trees spread their leaves in special patterns to trap as much sunlight as possible. On the dark forest floor, shade plants make use of even the slightest glimpse of light. When the sun flickers on their leaves, they do 90% of their energy trapping. The leaves of the begonia have domed bumps, which act like lenses, focusing the light into the cells below where the food is made. State-of-the-art optics. On the underside of the leaf, there's a coloured layer which acts like a mirror, reflecting any light trying to escape. Ancient Central American civilizations appreciated the significance of the sun and the moon. Many rainforest animals are depicted on the statues of the sun gods. The jaguar was especially revered, an almost mythical hunter. Spotted by day, at night it turned into a black jaguar, also known as a panther. The Mayans were so convinced of the influence of the heavens that they mapped out the sky to determine the best time to plant their crops. At the full moon, they tapped the trees for their sap. Even today, their descendants cut the chiclera tree on the full moon, and with good reason. The full moon's gravity pulls the tree's white sap to its highest point, where it can be tapped to make a kind of chewing gum. The sun also fuels the forest's water cycle. In the heat of the morning, water evaporates, but it doesn't escape entirely. It's trapped by the green blanket of the canopy. There's a good reason why these are called rainforests. Through the late afternoon, the water vapor cools, clouds form above the trees, and it begins to rain. A veritable downpour. As darkness falls, the last heat of the day radiates away. The remaining water vapour condenses into mist and returns to the trees. In the morning, refreshed and fully laden with water, the trees are ready for another day feeding from the sun's rays. The Mayans had many different types of calendars and carved them into stone so that today we can still see how accurate they were. They measured their days by the cycles of the sun and the moon. Their months, the moon's cycle, were either 29 or 30 days long, and there were 20 different names for the days, based on the animals and plants of the forest. This is Khan, the day of the jaguar, and then there's Zots, the month of the bat. Their year also had 365 days, often represented by the number of steps to the top of their temples. And they even aligned the stones for significant phases of the sun. At the moment of the summer equinox, the sun casts a rippling snake shadow on the temple walls. No one knows why the Mayans died out, but it wasn't because of their calendar. It matches the cycles of the moon better than ours does today. Okay, you're in a flower garden and your watch has stopped. How do you tell the time? Well, you can estimate it from the flowers themselves. The sun's daily cycle is ingrained in all plants. Carl Linnaeus, the Swedish biologist, noted exact opening times of different flower species and suggested that you could plant a flower clock just after 9 in the morning, the morning glory, 4 in the afternoon, the evening primrose. Nature is also tuned in to the year-long cycles of sunlight.
Our seasons come about because the Earth is tilted on its axis. As it moves around the sun, first one pole, then the other, is inclined towards the light and warmth. In higher latitudes, this effect is more pronounced, and we have the variety of the 4 seasons. Have you ever wondered why leaves change colour in the autumn? Well, they move through those autumnal browns, reds and purples because they're the colours of chemicals called anthocyanins, a natural protection which prevents the leaves getting sunburnt. In the autumn, the leaves reabsorb all their valuable green pigment so that it's ready for use when the spring sunshine returns. But they leave behind the beautiful multicoloured sunscreens. Even at the equator, our wobbling Earth creates 2 seasons. As the sun heats the land masses north, then south of the line, it brings dry periods, followed by torrential downpours or monsoons. The monsoons of India are the best known examples of this. But sun power is also responsible for the immense African savanna. Life here all starts with grass. It's the fuel for all grazing animals. If you want good grass, you have to go to where it's just rained. So powerful is the need for good grazing that in search of it, wildebeest create one of the greatest seasonal migrations on Earth. In many places, as far away from the sea as the African plains, the sun is merciless and turns the land into dust.
And yet the equatorial grasslands of the African savanna teem with life. Just why these hot, dry grasslands are so abundant has been a mystery. Until now. The reason that the savanna doesn't become a desert may all be down to a shiny little beetle that eats muck. The dung beetle is more mighty than it seems. Some species make their homes in piles of dung, but others have their dung to go, and they contribute most because they spread nature's own fertilizer far and wide. Rollers can transport dung 70 meters from the dung pile, and what's more, they dig it into the earth to provide food for their larvae. They're nature's gardeners, as the dung they spread also contains grass seeds. Each hectare receives about a ton of dung a year, so there's more than enough to go round. In periods of drought, it's healthy grass that stops the savanna turning to dust. It's suitable then that this humble insect was turned into a god by the ancient Egyptians. They thought dung beetles could roll the sun across the sky. In the dry season, the heat of the savanna is insufferable, but many of its animals have ingenious ways of keeping cool. One theory on why zebras have stripes is particularly interesting. The black bands heat up considerably more than the white ones. This difference in temperature causes the air around the zebra to circulate as it moves between the hot and cooler stripes. It's as if the zebra has its own portable cooling fan. In fact, if you have the right tricks, it's perfectly possible, even for wet-skinned animals, to survive this heat. Chiromantis, the grey foam nesting tree frog, has an amazing trick. At exactly 36 degrees Celsius, its skin turns white, becoming an efficient solar-reflecting surface. The frog even sweats to cool itself down, though the sweat flies this attracts must be irritating. But the ultimate capitulation to the heat of the sun is to try and avoid it whenever you can. The hippo is a past master of wallowing during the day and spreading muddy sunblock on its delicate skin. So problematic is overheating that hippos escape the sun by foraging at night. Special infrared cameras capture their activity. Hippos feed mostly on grass, but here they're caught taking other delicacies. The strange fruits of the sausage tree. As water becomes scarce and the rivers dry up, hippos are forced to take their daytime baths close together. In the hippo pool, crowding leads to grumpy disputes between dominant males who'd like more space. The fights are short but frequent, and it's curious to think that a star nearly 150 million kilometers away, that's our sun, is the cause of them. Finally, under the greenwood tree, who loves to lie in the sun with me,
But in the Trieste region of Italy, there are some creatures who prefer a darker world. In these parts, folklore tells of mythical, rarely seen monsters clambering from subterranean caverns. None but the brave would venture into these padlocked forests. But today, far from fire-breathing beasts, the only monster you'll find in these caves isn't a dragon at all. Dr. Nicola Bressi of the Trieste Natural History Museum is no stranger to these caverns, nor to the creatures that live here. He keeps an expert eye on one particular cave dweller, a relative of the newt and salamander, the rare Olm. 200 years ago, anyone unlucky enough to see an Olm and its fiery red gills mistook the harmless amphibian for a baby dragon. Actually, Olms don't get much longer than your average-sized foot. But dragons or not, they're incredible. Millions of years of evolution in absolute darkness will make a creature's eyes redundant. So a layer of skin grows over an Olm's eyes soon after it's born. Other senses, such as smell and touch, are far more important for hunting and navigating down here. In fact, they've adapted perfectly to life more than 50 meters underground. As they're never exposed to sunlight, Olms have transparent skin. But their Slovenian cousins are actually black. They live closer to the surface, and pigmentation in the skin gives protection from the sun's rays. Incredibly though, our transparent Olm has the ability to change its color. Rather like sunbathing, if they spend long periods in the sun, their skin will darken. But what would these cave dwellers be doing above ground? The underground world of the Olm holds another treasure: natural spring water, which is pumped to the surface for drinking. Every now and then, an unsuspecting Olm is sucked up into the pumping station.
See?
Fortunately, Dr. Bressi is always on hand to race to the rescue. Olms have gills and lungs, which mean they can survive out of the water for limited periods. All part of being an amphibian. There's no way Dr. Bressi can tell which cave this Olm comes from. To return him to the wrong family could spread disease and result in unnatural hybrids. So this guy's going to the local Speleovivarium, where he'll be well looked after with the other exhibits. The enigma of Olms is that they evolved in a world of buried darkness, yet can readily adapt to a life under the sun and the moon.